Okay. Welcome everyone to a really thrilling event. I'm so excited to be a part of this and get to greet these wonderful Ukrainian filmmakers who are so kind to join us. My name is Jocelyn Szczepaniak-Gillece, and I am the director of the Film Studies program and an associate professor of English and Film Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. It's my great pleasure to introduce Oksana Ivanyuk, who will introduce the director and the executive producer of the fabulous film that we're about to watch. Oksana?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Thank you very much for joining us at this, very difficult time for Ukraine. And we are really glad to present Maksym Osa movie. Natalka Moskalenko. She is the executive producer of the film. She's the person who actually worked on the production. And Myroslav Latyk, he's the director. And I would like to add a couple of words. Myroslav is the prominent Ukrainian director, definitely a rising star. This year, he was supposed to have two of his feature films premiered and be theatrically released. But unfortunately, the war began and all the plans are ruined. But both films were presented just a week before the war at Kyiv TV market. And in April, we were supposed to have a premiere of his 8 episodes TV series on one of the main Ukrainian TV channels at 1+1. Unfortunately, it's postponed for unknown period of time, but we are really glad that your audience will have a chance to have a look at this wonderful movie, which I personally like very much. And so I give a stand to Natalia and Myroslav.
Yeah, we're also great to be attend to this meeting and conversation, and we're glad to answer your question. You have already started to ask the first question, as I understand, but Myroslav wasn't connected to us. Can you please repeat it, and I'll translate to him so he could start it.
With great pleasure. I want to start off with saying how grateful we are for all of you for joining us during such a difficult time, and to express to you that our hearts are with you and with Ukraine, and
thanks.
Really with you.
Thank you.
So my first question is really about the story of Maksym Osa. I know this film was very long in the making. It's been in progress since 2013, 2014. And I would love to know if you could tell us what makes this particular story so timely, both in 2013, 2014, and in 2022, that makes it such an urgent and relevant story to tell now.
Фільм виробництво запустився в 2014 році компанією Haigh фільм. Перекладай. Давай короткими реченнями.
This film started to shooting in 2014 with Haigh Film Production, and with the first group of directors and producers. And then there are several different groups who are shooting this film and make different scripts of this film.
І в 2014-му, коли почалась війна, в них зупинилось фінансування, підскочив долар, і фактично вони втратили половину бюджету.
And if we talk about the budgeting, they have first they was funded by the our government, and it was not the same sum of money when they started to shoot, and then war started, and it was like the budget was lowered in 3 times, so they do not have enough money to shoot in, and they started the shooting process, but they couldn't finish it. It's that circumstances they have, so the film was frozen, and all filmmaking was frozen for 6-7 years, and Yeah, and during all of this period of time, many of actors became older really, and when our team is got this film to like produce the last part, and we actually couldn't do it because there are not all the props they have. It's like they just lost somewhere and so on. The costumes wasn't in the good wasn't good for this period of time. There are not actors with the same old and it is impossible for us because some of the scenes was shooted just on the half, like it was a marriage. It is a big table with foods and so on, and we do not have the same props, but we need to shoot another one part of this scene. It's like really impossible, and also we have a really small sum of money, and we need to do something with this, and we also would like to like rethink about the things what happened in film, about the story, and so we decided to shoot the film at the first step and rewrite the script, and Myroslav add her vision in all of this, and we really like decrease all of mass scenes because we do not have enough money for the people, a lot of people in the shoot. So we decided, okay, our main like circumstances for the story is the plague in this plant. That's why there are not many people. They're like all died. Just all our 12 main heroes is there. That's why we have so like not so many actors, but it's budgeting the main thing why we was in this situation and how we find the decision. It was our decision how we will find a way to go through it and do something. So that's it.
That's creative filmmaking, right? Under duress.
Too long, Natasha.
Sorry.
Very long story. Very long and dramatic story about filmmaking.
I will just translate them.
Як це попередній? Краще можу сказати, що попередній Максим Оса підтримував Росію.
Okay. The thing that disappointed Myroslav now is the previous group who shooted Maksym Osa. They supported
No
Russia.
Group, just actor.
Actor. Not group. The main hero, the actor who is the main hero, he's supporting the Russia, so we don't like him.
In 2014, yeah. We have a little problem with this.
And we don't, and Myroslav don't want work with him, and we changed the main hero. Actually, whole heroes.
I think that tells us so much about how cultural identity and national identity plays into even a story that's a fantasy, right? So even in something like Maksym Osa, which is an adventure, a historical fantasy, we see the encroachment of contemporary politics even in something like that.
Ти розумієш, що вона каже, чи перекладати тобі?
В дуже загальних рисах я смисл можливо улавлюю, можливо неправильно.
Що це, якби, навіть в таких речах ми забачали те, що якби ми закладали навіть якби на таких етапах, коли вибір актора, все одно закладається якби дух фільму, який ми знімаємо, і те, яким чином ми хочемо показати політичну ситуацію і наше ставлення.
Давай десь приблизно на перше питання. На перше питання там дуже просто можна відповісти, що я багато знав про цей проект і, в принципі, хотів попасти. Але коли я подивився матеріал, те, що зробили попередні, тобто це була така легка, така от дурашлива фанова історія про ні про що. І оце ми повністю поміняли. Ми поміняли повністю настрій фільму, тобто із такої дурної досить історії, напіввеселої, ми зробили якийсь такий містичний трилер в нуарному такому стилі.
Myroslav tells that he knew this story for a long time. He knew that it was this film, that the film stopped the filming, and he really wanted to be to be involved. And then in this project, yeah. And then he saw all the materials it was at that period, and he understands that he don't want even shoot in this style because it was a foolish and comic style of the film, and it shows our Cossacks, our history, our not in that value, in that world we would like to show it. So he made the film in mystical, it became in serious movie. It's mystical and it has her own, I don't know, like heart and some type. It is not about fun. It is about some things really valuable for us, and it is the most about it's his main things, is it?
Yes, that's what I love about it, that it's so mystical and it's so magical and so indebted to these legends that we should take seriously, right? That we should think about as serious objects and as really constitutive of what of the kind of spirit of the nation, right? Of thinking about these kinds of ways that that culture moves through time. I think it's wonderful. I'm going to pause for one moment to answer a question. Do we need Maria to jump in and translate as well, or do we feel like this is going that this is going fine?
That's true. So what do you think? Because I can just jump in and maybe we can do it together. What do you think?
Thanks.
Okay, can I keep following up, because this line of conversation was really exciting to me. So I'd like to follow up with what we were just talking about. I know that the Cossack is a very well-known figure in Ukraine, but because a primarily American audience is going to be watching this interview, I wonder if, Myroslav, if you could tell us a little bit about your understanding of the figure of the Cossack and why that figure is so important, is a story that you want to tell in particular.
So Myroslav, Jocelyn питає.
Я зрозумів, чим є фігура козаків для українців, як їх можна. Дивіться, козаки, як на мене, дуже спотворені радянською історіографією десь за останні багато років. Напевно, із 1708 року, коли було там знищено, потім повторно знищено, вся історія, власне, козацтва переписалась багато разів.
So the story of Cossacks, actually, right now, what we know, the narrative is extremely influenced by the Soviet power. So, and it was constructed as it fit for the Soviets. So this is, as I understand, so Myroslav.
В радянському кіно, в тих самих, в тому самому прекрасному фільмі Івченка, навіть Миколайчук, вони такі смішні козаки. Хоча для мене, мені здається, тобто це були воїни, це були брутальні воїни брутального часу. Я це хотів поміняти абсолютно. Тобто цього персонажа створити, який міг би напитися, набити комусь лице, піти там когось зарізати, але виконати там своє бойове завдання. Тобто це такий, якби, warrior.
So what Myroslav tried to do is actually change this narrative, because previously Cossacks were portrayed as something comical and something kind of just only humorous and not to be taken seriously. And even in Ivchenko's films, they are also kind of just this somebody to laugh at. And in reality, they were actually soldiers. They were violent people. They were the defenders. So this is also to change this whole perception of who Cossacks were.
І ще один можливий момент, який ми заклали в фільм. У нас от такий європейський культурний наратив. Тобто вони грають не на балалайках, а вони грають на лютні. Музика, сама ритміка музики, насправді так і було. Тобто ми говорили із Тарасом Компаніченко, який є українським бандуристом відомим, який там і історію музики досліджує, історію там європейської музики. Тобто Україна 16-17 століття існувала абсолютно в європейському культурному наративі. Тобто пізніше це все було змінено.
So what's interesting too, that the whole image of Cossacks, how it was portrayed in the Soviet times, and it's still, this is what we have, this stereotype of Cossacks, they are something separate from European culture. While in reality, in Ukraine in 16th, 17th century, they actually used European musical instruments, and they were very much more integrated in Europe. And this is also what Myroslav the film is trying to show, that they are not only banduras, but they played the instruments that lutnas, that the instruments that were played in Europe at that time.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That embedded in the use of a particular musical instrument, that demonstrates this connection to a larger European modernism. Right? It's like moving toward modern Europe and demonstrating that Ukraine is a part of modern Europe much earlier than we might know. That's wonderful. That's so wonderful.
Ну, і ще один момент, вони, як, напевно, справжні воїни, вони не були занадто драматичними, вони справді, ну от як теперішня війна, тобто вояки з фронту присилають дуже багато смішного відео, вони там танцюють, вони веселяться, тобто нема такого перегруженого драмою одної мінорної ноти якоїсь емоційної. Тобто він, ну, наш Максим Оса і бандити там, тобто вони, ну, він принаймні брутально, але він може жартувати, він може собі дозволити жарт.
So what's interesting also that what the film is trying to do also to change this whole tone of and the image of Cossacks as soldiers, as defenders, that they are not only, so they actually were less dramatic than they're usually portrayed. But it's also what's interesting that right now you can make this connection, because what we see, the soldiers who are now on the front line in Ukraine, they are also very different. They have different sides. They are fighting, but then they also posting these funny videos and making fun of the situations and finding comical sides. So it's kind of less dramatic than usually Cossacks were portrayed. So that's also kind of making this connection, pretty much what's happening now.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That really, I think, allows us to see how something that is of legend and of folklore is also something that is alive, right? That is a living trope, a living object, and that's what we can see in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to follow up with that again, because this is obviously my favorite line of questioning. Is this why the film begins and ends with the same song that The Lost Letter begins and ends with? Because I couldn't help but notice that it's a very unique song. So is that a deliberate reference and updating of The Lost Letter?
Чому фільм починається з тої самої
Танцювала
пісні?
риба з раком. Танцювала риба з раком, і Петру.
Actually, Myroslav was the person who added all of this in film. He knew all of this film. He knew all of these songs, all of these expressions, and he added in script and in film and in places where they.
It was such a delight to see because I really love watching a lot of Ukrainian folk cinema from the 60s and 70s. So it was wonderful to catch that reference. And I think for contemporary audiences who might not know about these films as well, it's a good way to make a connection, not only to older folklore, but to a long tradition of filmmaking that American audiences might not be as aware of. So I really love that about it too.
Ну от ці штуки, це, ну, в даному випадку пісня, це пряма відсилка до пропалої грамоти, яка там теж декілька разів фігурує, Івченка. І крім цього, там ще зашиті якісь є пасхалочки, наприклад, у нас гобелен битви під Оршею, це одна із найбільших битв, де спільно українсько-польське військо розбило повністю Московську Орду. Там князь Острозький, вони там їм надавали біля річки Орша. Крім цього, є там інші українські пісні. Пісня Хелени, вона написана на основі вірша Івана Франка, ліричного вірша «Ти смерть моя». І ну, от є зашито багато таких відсилок до української культури, які, якщо людина знає, то вона просто зрозуміє їх. Якщо людина не знає, вона це там відчує, що це там тру-тру-тру.
So Jocelyn, so that's absolutely correct about the songs at the beginning and at the end. That was obviously done intentionally, but there are also other hidden and implicit elements there that, for instance, there is a not gobelin, so it's kind of the carpet that it's on the wall, and it's the motifs. It's a Polish Ukrainian that's fighting against Moscow and women and winning, right, and winning against Moscow. But then there was other Ukrainian songs, and also on the words of Ivan Franko, who was a famous Ukrainian poet. So that's also built in, and it's for people, obviously those who would know, they kind of will understand. So those subtleties obviously built in on purpose.
That's fascinating, and I'm so glad we can provide that to anybody who will be watching this film in the United States who would not necessarily pick up on these kinds of points. I think too about Yuri Ilyenko, who I really love his films, and how his approach to this kind of folkloric cinema is very, very poetic. But the pacing in Maksym Osa is a bit different, right? It's a bit more of an adventure. It's a bit more faster paced. Could you talk a little bit about how you understood the pacing of this film and thinking about that in the context of these other traditions of filmmaking in Ukraine?
Окей, я люблю українське поетичне кіно.
So Myroslav is a fan of Ukrainian mythic films.
Мені, напевно, з поетичного дуже подобається «Білий птах з чорною ознакою», мені подобається «Вавилон 20», який частково знімав мій майстер, в якого я вчився на кінорежисурі.
So one of his favorite films are The Black Bird with White Wings, or then The Babylon 20, and those are made by his teacher, whom he admires very much. So he wants to follow.
Мені подобається от теперішній новий фільм Михайла Іллєнка «Толока». Там дуже багато поетичних відсилок, там дуже багато переосмислень поетичних. І, ну, от загалом, воно все в мене в голові є. Я пам'ятаю прямо якісь речі, які мені дуже подобаються.
So, but it also there are references to the new films. Ilyenko, Maksym Ilyenko, Myhailo Ilyenko, Toloka, that's the one that you, I forgot what Toloka is. Як
A
там
film
Лукаш?
about 300 years of Ukrainian, last years of Ukrainian history.
Oh, okay.
От лише він вийшов. І,
So that's a
але
new
я
film.
хотів, да, але я хотів, ну, якби для себе, і, в принципі, переосмислити і додати трішечки жорстокості. От я вважаю, що зараз, ну, зараз вона потрібна. Тому не поетичне, таке радянське поетичне, де всі добрі, все прекрасно, і всі такі фанові. А от як в «Білий птах з чорною знакою». Сім'я з 3 братів, які воюють один проти одного в різних арміях і вбивають один одного. Фактично, от така от історія. І от зараз ми повернулись десь туди ж саме.
So one of the goals Myroslav had, it's also to enrich the narrative and not only make it that they're only good people and everything the happy end, but he wanted to purposefully wanted to add violence, because that's the life is violent, and also complexity to the characters. How in Blackbird with White Wing, the 3 brothers and they are fighting each other. And this is, again, we kind of see this right now with this war when we have Russians attacking Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm.
So there are similarities too, and it's violent.
That's great. That's really, really helpful and powerful to think about. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about the shoot for Maksym Osa. I know, Natalia, that there were some budgetary constraints that you certainly had to face up to as executive producer. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like to shoot on location, and if there are any stories about production that you think would be fun to share?
Yeah, we was low budgeting, of course, and we understand it from the start. And we decided that we are really interested in shooting this movie. So like we do it as good as we could do it. Main was not earn the money from film. Main was to shoot the best what we can do for the money we have. So first of all, we wrote the script we could shoot in this budget we have. And second, we really put in one shooting day as much scenes as we possible to do. And the first shoot, whole group, maybe just Myroslav believes in my schedules and what we must shoot during the day. Whole group says we couldn't do it, it's impossible, and so many minutes, it's impossible to shoot good in so tight schedules. But we work really like a team. We listen in each other. We really try to do our best in the shooting place. And even in first shooting day, it was 2nd of December. And we really need the main, like we really need to have very end of the autumn in Ukraine to have this movie style we need. No snow, because we need too dark atmosphere. No snow.
Dark mood.
Dark mood, and no, you know, when it's autumn, it's leaves, and they are yellow, and this yellow color don't like, and Myroslav don't like it, and we waiting till the leaves became really dark, and then we wait, and we have snow as soon as we have snow in December, and we like proud every day, no snow, and it was the 2nd of December. It was our first shooting day, and it was rain, and we shoot in forest, and all our ones are struggled in the грязь, я забыла, как это,
In the mud.
In the mud, yeah. And it was 5 o'clock a.m. It was dark. We couldn't do anything with these cars. It was like the first day. No one believes in this schedule and so on. And the end of the day, and also it's a day when we need to broke the play it. You know, I don't know they have this tradition or not, but we need to do a lot of stuff, not just shooting. We need to do it the first time and group and so on. But we finished by the timing, and we were proud by ourselves, and we understand in this day that we can do it if we will try it and do our best. And we really was very, very prepared. And it also, a big of this preparation part was on Myroslav. He trained all of actors before shooting. It wasn't the first time they go through the scenes again. They all knew what they do, how they do it. So it's not the first, oh, okay, maybe you stay here. Okay, they all knew what they need to do. And he has a very, very good connection with actors. They all listen to him and do what he wants they to do on the set, and it's very important. Of course, we have some arguments, you know, on the set sometimes between Myroslav and our upper post, you know, how it the main cameraman.
Central, some kind of.
The cinematographer,
director of photography. Sometimes it happens, of course, but we have a really good team, and we believe in each other, and we all want to do our best, and that's how we can do it. And we have 5 days in forest. First, actors were swimming in the swamp. It was really winter. It was really cold water. And okay, maybe one more rehearsal. And okay, I'll go there and we'll stay in there. We must to finish our shooting in the March. We started in December and must have finished on March, and it was our last 3 days. It is interiors. It is not exteriors was finished. It is interiors. We leave it at the end to have this weather and so on. And it started at the March. It was the March when the COVID started. So we couldn't shoot because of COVID. All was closed, and we need to wait till the autumn when the place where we plan to shoot, it's in Kam'янець-Podilskyi, it's also in Ukraine, but in different regions of Ukraine, let us shoot all we need. And so it was a bit difficult, but we did it, and everything finished.
It's a labor of love.
Ти лише забула сказати, що перший день пішов сніг після зміни.
Next day, Myroslav says the first day.
Ну і не next day, перший день. В кінці першого дня сніг пішов.
And that of the first day started snowing. We do not want to snow, and we plan to shoot we need to shoot 5 days in forest. We decided to shoot 2 days, then have a day off, and then 2 days, and so on. So we couldn't shoot first and second day together because we need to wait a few days till the all snow не знаю, як танути на англійській мові. Melt, and we could to produce it. But it was only once during whole winter when we have a snow in Ukraine. It was a really strange winter, but we need a winter without snow, so we have it.
Wow. I love the forest setting so much. It's so mystical. It's just so evocative, the images of the forest. And I think of the forest as almost a kind of main character because it's such a powerful setting. Could you tell us a little bit about where the forest that you shot in is, and where we would go if we wanted to visit the land of the werewolf?
Near Kyiv.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so the forest, Myroslav is saying that actually the forest is not far from Kyiv. Але Jocelyn також питає, що це очевидно, що ліс – це просто як герой фільму. І тому, якщо ви можете трохи ще більше розказати про це, як воно так вийшло і так. І якщо відвідати, то коли ми будемо приїхати в Україну, де ми побачимо це?
От я казав, в мене вимова жахлива, поблизу Києва, near Kyiv. Тобто це 5 кілометрів від Києва, цей весь ліс, болото і все. Тобто, ну, фактично це Київ, це околиці Києва, цей ліс знаходиться.
So it's really Kiev. It's less than 5 kilometers from Kiev. So this is what it is. So I didn't need to go far.
It's
І
our
там
barbecue
справді було,
place.
і там є болото бобрів, які бобри зробили, і ми дуже переживали, що ми їм хатку поламаємо. Наташа дуже переживала, що ми їм поламаємо дом.
And it was they did have lots of nature right there. So there was the swamp and the bog. The bog actually was there too, and the creatures that the otters that they were there too, and so they were worried not to disturb them, not to disturb their house.
Наташа дуже любить тварин, конів, і вона дуже за них переживала більше, ніж за людей.
So Natalia loves animals very much, and she was concerned about horses more than she was concerned about people.
People could stand for themselves, but animals couldn't, and that's why.
Right. It's fine to make the actors stand in the bog, but not the horses. Another aspect of the film that I love is the costuming and makeup and the hair design as well. The hairstyling is really, really gorgeous. And that's often a place where a low budget film will show its budget, but that's not true in this movie. The costumes and the hair, I love the hair. The hair in particular was really fabulous. So I wondered if you could tell us who was responsible for the costuming and makeup and hair design, and what kinds of inspiration did they draw on for these character designs?
I can tell about the people. It was two of the best artists in Ukraine, the costume artist and hair and makeup artist. They're really good, and we like hired people who cost us much, but we explained them that this is they couldn't do a bad job because they need it's them's face. They must do the best they can, and then they work with Myroslav and find the ways how to do what we can. And sometimes it was like we do not have enough money to do like the same three jackets for Maksym Osa, for example. So we couldn't like, okay, then in one of the scenes, Maksym Osa will be without the jacket because sweater, it's much more cheaper. That's why we will destroy the sweater, but we'll save a jacket. And it's really evaluating to save the money when the director are involved in this process, and he really understands how to save money and help you. Like I couldn't do it without him. It becomes just in argument and so on. And only when we work like a team, it couldn't. It happens just because of this. And about the mystical and all of the costumes, maybe Myroslav did. Розкажи, чому саме такі костюми, чому такі причосочки?
Причосочки, це, ну, те саме, що ти сказала, те, що у нас не було грошей, і ми, типу, старалися зробити менше, але красиво. Але у нас була одна велика проблема, вона лишилася, і ми її ніяк не побороли, це наше чудіще, наш werewolf.
We do not have enough money to make a good costume for werewolf, so it is not as good as we like pretended it must be, because we do not have really the value of sum of money that it costs if it really seems like a real costume. So so we
it's my tires.
Yeah.
My tires.
Ну я думаю, що ти можеш ще додати стосовно костюмів, того, що ми не знімали шаровари, ми вдягали їх зовсім інакше.
Ну так, оце важливо. Ну от власне те, що я спочатку казав, тобто козаки існують в українському такому сучасному просторі, в якихось атласних шароварах, от вони такі напівмультяшні.
So the main thing also is to change this image of Cossacks, because currently they exist that Cossacks, what we think of a Cossack, we think of this wide silky pants and usually dancing too. But this is what, if you notice, there are no sharavars, no those white pants in the film, because that's also to change this image.
І от для мене референсом того часу був не от в нас козаків зображається довгі вуса, лиса голова із какашкою з голови, і вони такі от сліганця такі такі придурочні, такі чуть-чуть, от вони дурачки такі.
So the idea also was to change. Yeah, the idea was also to change this image that usually when you think, besides the costume, you think of those long mustache and the herring, but that also was the purpose was to change this, not to do like this.
І я в свій час побачив фільм «Капітана Латріста», і там от той самий час, тобто це середина 16 століття, і от там от божественні костюми, божественний підхід до історичного зображення історичного костюму. От вони всі такі прямо засалені, понищені. От куртку Оси, ми її реально кидали в бетономішалку, били сокирою, рубали, різали, зшивали наново, терли якимись гвоздями. Тобто ми її реально псували. От її пошили спочатку, і потім ми там людей 10 просто топтались по ній, бігали, коней проганяли.
So one of the also what was very important for Myroslav is to make this reality that, and it was taken for the film, this one of the what he noted, Captain Ortiz, I don't know. Alatrista. Do you know this film? Captain Alatrista. But it's also that it's a historic film about the 16th, 17th century. And what Myroslav particularly paid attention, that all the costumes will be worn out and kind of looking very realistic. So this is what they did. They sewed this jacket for Maksym Osa, but then they also wanted to make it realistic, and they really worked hard on making it look worn. So they threw it, they jumped on it, they cut it, they threw it in this cement mixing machine. So just to make it realistic too, that it will be worn. So it was very important in the details. See the details, like paying attention to details. That was important.
Yeah, all the costuming of Maksym Osa and other characters who are very physical, they're practical costumes. They're beautiful, but they're practical. They're things that people can move in, and you can imagine people fighting in them. So I really appreciate that about the design as well. Very cool.
Ти розумієш, що всі костюми, як вони виглядають, то вони практичні, вони реалістичні, що люди можуть легко рухатись в цьому, і так що воно, ти собі дійсно уявляєш, що таке могло бути, тому що воно все-таки реальне.
And it makes an even more significant contrast with the costuming of the nobility, right? Where most of the nobility can't really move very well, right? They're constrained. So it's less about the absolute beauty of them and more about this artifice, right? That they are not physical people. They are not people of the land who can move around in quite the same ways. So I think even in the costuming, we can see that distinction between the two groups of people.
Так, що в костюми, що ті, хто одні, це одна група козаки, а які Максим в практичному одязі, а ті, хто багаті, то вони навпаки, у них костюми дуже їх стримають, вони не можуть рухатись в цьому. Так що це також що це ідея, доноситься ідея, як воно було.
I know that Maksym Osa is also based on a graphic novel, a very popular graphic novel. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about adapting the graphic novel for the screen and if that presented any kinds of challenges or inspirations.
Цей переклад графічної новели на фільм, що було важко і що було цікаво, які були проблеми, коли це робили фільм з цього?
Фактично існує 3 сценарії Максима Оси і наш це 4-й сценарій по графічній новелі.
So previously, before Myroslav even started working it, there were already 3 scripts already existed. So on this graphic novel, and that's the 4th one. So created the 4th one.
Wow.
Так, і вони абсолютно всі різні, писали різні люди, і ми відкинули всі, тому що, знову ж таки, дуже багато грошей треба було на реалізацію всіх попередніх. Там була Січ, десь сотні людей, велика масовка. А ми зразу придумали оцей світ, де буде існувати лише 8 героїв, і все, більше нікого.
So also the idea was that all these previous three scripts, they were also very different in terms of, they had, and it was difficult to realize it in the film because they had lots of people, lots of mass shooting. So what they had come up with, what would be realistic, and that's why they have the forest and they have only 8 characters in the forest. So there are no mass, no shootings with many people. So that was also driven, and that was purposeful.
Ну, історія сильно якби не помінялась, там теж є золото, теж зникає, теж оса шукає. Тобто це базова історія. Якісь речі ми повторили, які є в оригінальному коміксі, те, що його закопали живцем. В оригінальному коміксі він сидить над своєю могилою. Тобто воно чуть відрізняється, але якось основними ідеями подібне. Єдине, що ми зробили справді, я колись так казав, що от те, що робили попередні групи, те, що робили попередні сценаристи, і те, що є в коміксі, це фактично світ Марвел. А я от прям свідомо зразу сказав, що це буде DC, тому що не буде у нас гроші на Марвел. У нас тільки DC.
So the idea also was that first of all that the main plot stayed intact from the original graphic novel, but also what Myroslav noticing that the previous 3 scripts, they were more of the Marvel productions, kind of aiming for this glamour and lots of people, and he didn't want to do this, and he was aiming to the DC, to the completely different style of production. Natalia, you would even know which one, because I don't know what it is.
DC, it's also comics. Marvel, it's DC.
No, Marvel, this is what you're not doing. No, це те, що ви не робили. Але цей DC...
And DC, it's another one company for comics. They also
Batman.
Batman. Okay.
Another one.
Dark Films.
Okay.
Detective Comics. Detective
Okay.
Comics. Dark, you're so dark.
The dark, yeah, that's true. But it's also the thing, the plot didn't change. In the original graphic novel, they still look for gold. And this dramatic scene when he is buried, that he's buried alive, this is in the original too. And only the difference what they made that in their film he was dug down alive. In the original, he is sitting above his own grave and watching. So that's only they changed, but it's still the gist stay the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're so used to these overblown comics movies, right? When Marvel kind of has control over every iteration of a comics movie. We're just used to being these like massive, explosive, super productions. In a way, we can think about a stripped down production where there are only 8 characters as in some ways truer to the form of the comic, because a comic also reduces, right? It reduces everything down to a particular movement. One movement signifies an array of movements. One frame of a comic signifies, 5 minutes in time. So by reducing Maksym Osa down to its bare bones, in a way, I think we can think about it as truer to the form than a big budget spectacular would have been.
Це дуже цікава думка, що ви, як ви робили, і не так, як Марвел, а повністю як протилежно, що це якраз ближче до оригіналу, до коміку, тому що in comics то також одна картинка, це буде символізувати багато сцен. І це, так що це правдивіше, ніж до оригіналу, як ви зробили.
Yeah, that's it.
Nothing else to say about that. I know we don't have that much time left. I don't want to keep you for so long, so I'll just ask a couple kind of broader questions to sum up what we've been discussing. And one is to return to this question of the fantasy, or the adventure, the graphic novel, the mystical. We so often think of political cinema as having to deal directly with oppression, directly with politics. But this is a film that is rooted in fantasy and is rooted in the mystical. Do both of you think, as artists and producers, that there is a place for the political in the realm of the mystical or fantasy? And could you just provide a few thoughts about that?
Наталя, я тільки швиденько перекладу, що звичайно фантазія іде окремо від політики, але у вашому фільмі то воно дуже перетинається. Чи ви можете прокоментувати, чи це також було навмисно, і що ви про це думаєте, і чому ви так зробили?
Політику ми закладали от саме в вигляді цих відсилок, як от битва під Оршею. Бандити кажуть, що один з них сидів в московській в'язниці, і в нас все-таки більше відсилок до європейських країн. І от, напевно, от єдина ця основна думка, яку я хотів донести, те, що ми билися з поляками, ми там воювали з турками, ми воювали з Великим князівством Литовським, але тоді, в цей час воювали всі зі всіма, і всі потім там перемирялись, тобто от така от каша творилася 15-16 століття. Але ось ця думка, що ми були частиною Європи, ми були більше частиною Європи, ніж частиною Азії, оце от відчуття я хотів якраз візуально і стилістично створити, якщо взяти це в політичному сенсі, тобто, що Україна і там козаки, вони були вони говорять польською, деякі слова знають іспанською, розбираються в європейській зброї, розбираються в європейській літературі, розбираються в європейській музиці. Тобто він може, здавалось би, козак – це там звичайний убивця, але він може взяти лютню і награти якийсь відомий іспанський мотив.
I'll translate this quick. I'll translate this quickly. So actually, it is more historic than political. But so the only kind of openly political was there that the battle, and then that some of the stories that some of the characters are saying that they were in Moscow prison. But actually, what was the main goal is to show that the Cossacks were part of European culture. They all spoke multiple languages. They spoke Polish and Lithuanian. They did fight at this, because at that period they fought against Poland, they fought against Lithuania, the Spanish. There were wars too, so that was the period of wars, and then so Cossacks were part of it too. But they were more part of European culture. And again, they spoke Spanish. They were literate in multiple languages. They spoke multiple languages. So this is also what the goal is, to show this different face of Ukrainian identity, that they. For the longest time, they were part of Europe. Mm-hmm. And it's also with the musical instruments that they would play, that they were European European musical instruments too.
Ну,
Like
і цей
about our
момент,
identity, not about politics, but about how we feel ourselves. Кажи, що російською.
Наташенька, все політика, все політика.
So that you can't separate really history or identity, history and politics. They are all inseparable. They all go together.
І в основі нашої історії є якби розповідь про те, що козаки везуть від польської корони золото на Січ. Тобто, ну от в даному випадку король там скільки там тисяч золотих, тобто дуже великі гроші на той час. І насправді було декілька фактів, коли польська корона платила козакам за участь в спільних військових походах. Вони там брали участь в європейських війнах або в спільних проти росіян.
The whole core of the plot that the Cossacks are moving gold from from Poland to Ukraine, to Siege, to home, and this is so the transferring it, and it is a true element because there are cases when Poland paid Cossacks for fighting they did against Moscow, and they were paid for it. And so this is also the true of it, but it's something that you would not expect because this is not something that it's in usual narrative. Right
Події відбуваються в 636 році, тобто через 10 років Богдан Хмельницький почне свою війну проти Польщі, і через 5 чи 6 років війни він підпише Переяславські угоди, і в принципі Україна стане частиною фактично частиною Московії на 300 наступних років. Тому це от такі от уже майже кінець свободи.
So what's also very interesting, the film is the period is 1633, which is exactly 10 years before Khmelnytsky started the war with Poland and then signed the agreement with Russia. And also so this is, you can look at this as kind of this last 10 years of freedom that Ukraine had, and when it was more integrated with Europe after they got more integrated with Asia, as we call it. So that's so this is also very significant in terms of when it is.
I mean, writing the historical canon to me is deeply political and a deeply meaningful project to embark upon. So it's wonderful. I'll just close with one last question, which is another kind of broad question. If both Myroslav and Natalia, if you have thoughts about how film culture can operate in resistance to oppression. A big question, Banda.
Як ви бачите, як культура фільму може приймати участь в боротьбі проти опресії і проти навали? Як ви бачите, яка роль фільму в цьому?
От у мене, напевно, в такому розумінні є прекрасний фільм «Хоробре серце» з Мелом Гібсоном, який фактично підняв національну там свідомість шотландців, до яких то небес, вони там референдум робили, і там чуть не розсипалася Британська імперія. Тобто вони абсолютно згадали свою там незалежність, за що воювали їхні предки.
Oh, it is very interesting that Myroslav remembered actually what he sees parallels is with Braveheart, with Mel Gibson. When after that film, Scottish identity was elevated, and this is when they started thinking of the referendums of separating from Britain. So this is obviously that was very important film, and that's so there are parallels with that.
І я вважаю, що будь-який культурний продукт, який нагадує нам не те, що було сформовано Радянським Союзом, що ми там завжди були частиною Росії. Ми не були частиною Росії, ми були частиною Європейського Союзу. І будь-який фільм, книжка, музика, пісня, яка буде нам нагадувати про нашу європейську спорідненість історичну, Тобто ми частина великої Європи до Уралу. І це нагадування дасть нам можливість просто очиститись від тої 70 років брехні, яку дотепер продовжує там Росія нести через канали, через братські народи. Тобто ми в принципі навіть мовно ми не подібні. Ми не подібні культурно, ми не подібні ментально, ми не подібні цивілізаційно, ціннісно і всяке таке. Наші села сильно відрізняються від їхніх деревень. У нас більше є цього європейського бажання приватної власності. В них їх нема. І от чим більше буде проєктів, продуктів, які будуть нам нагадувати про те, що ми інші були, ми були частиною Європи, тим легше буде від них відбитися. Тобто зараз вони б'ють саме тим, що ми єдиний народ, вони приходять нас захищати. Це просто якийсь покруч.
So the main also goal of the film is to serve as a reminder of our history, and particularly it's very relevant right now when Russia just have this excuse that we're all together and we are these brothers and we have the same blood, Ukrainians and Russians, and that's why they're attacking. And this is the film. It actually reminds and tries to erase and propose an alternative narrative that it's actually the history was different, and what we know now, this is what was imposed on us for the last 70 years with the Soviet Union, when that we are the same people, and we are not the same people. Actually, what our history shows, and this is what the film reminds, that we are more part of European culture than we are part of Russian culture, and that also this is what in our roots and in our blood.
It's a really beautiful and wonderful statement to end on, a reminder that culture is political, and that this is a really important film to watch right now. I want to extend so many thanks to Myroslav and to Natalia for showing up and providing us with this wonderful film, and for giving us so much rich background on the meaning and production of the film. And again, I just want to further express how much our hearts are with you, and how grateful we are for your appearing with us at such a difficult time. But we send strength and so many good wishes to you. And thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.